てないため絶対サービスキープしろこっちかフォロースルーに祝って絶望へのプレリュードを聞けそしてハードスタートは手わかる
Hey everyone, it's CurlyHairedHero, and welcome back to Prince of Tennis 2005 Crystal Drive. Went a little bit slower this time. I feel like every time we do this I try and go a little bit faster, but nonetheless, we're playing Prince of Tennis 2005 Crystal Drive. We're in the King of Strokers tournament here. It's a survivals single tournament. Survival singles is you just take 3 players and you compete against another team of 3 players. You each take a player and they play a singles match. The loser of that singles match drops off, and then another member of the losing team hops in to take their spot, and the game continues until there are no more players left on either side. This is actually the final round, so it's the last tournament of, or the last part of this tournament. I was gonna say it's the last tournament we're gonna have to do, but that's wrong. This is not the last tournament we're gonna have to do of this type. We're actually going to have to do another survival singles tournament sometime later on. I think, I'm trying to remember which one it is. I think I remember I saved it. I'm saving it for the end of the, I think it's Iron Plate 3. I think that's what it is, because I'm saving it for the 100th episode, but I think it was called the Iron Plate 3. So that one I think is the survival singles. We did Iron Plate 1, which was a just singles tournament. I think it was just on hard, and then we did a double tournament, Iron Plate 2. They decided to skip the other ones because I think the highest it goes up is Iron Plate 3. I don't think there's an Iron Plate 4 or 5, but they decided to skip trial singles and mixed match and make the last one a survival singles tournament, which I guess makes more or less sense. But yeah, we're using a team of triple Ootoris here just because it is. I'm trying to do sort of like a Hyote theme for this season, and I figured rather than just using the same characters later on, I would just use the same character once here so that I don't kind of like stale the other characters using them too many times, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, Ootori is pretty cool to use. He has some pretty useful specials, primarily the 1-2 punch that I like when I do these kinds of quick runs with Ryoma, because he has a serve special and a return of serve special. Let's see if we can, oh lord, get through this pretty quickly. It's kind of what I've been trying to do, is get through these pretty quickly, because these are quite fucking long. Oof. These are quite fucking long because I am, you know, playing 3 games in a row. But that's why we use this nice little 1-2 punch that I just mentioned, where I can just go here, go into super mode or awakening mode, and just spam all of my specials until I god fucking damn it until I fall and lose the game. Maybe I have to move a little bit because you can't move around, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe I have to find a sweet spot. But I'm starting to think that maybe it's just his special has like a 70% accuracy rate or something like that, which I don't know how I feel about that. You know, it is nice that it's like accurate, because no one serves like super hard, right? They don't. I don't think to this day anyone that can like serve super hard, super hard and fast, and then have 100% of their first serves go in or anything like that, right? There's like a risk versus reward kind of thing there. As of right now, we have no one that's super amazing like that, I think. I'm sure there's amazing players, but I'm just saying, like, really hard, fast servers, they usually tend to fault out sometimes, because there's just such a like small margin of error when it comes to that. So in that aspect, I can appreciate the game making that a thing, where it's like, oh, in general in the series, he's got one of the best serves, I think. Until like we get into like New Prince of Tennis or something like that, where they, I'm sure, do some crazy bullshit because they got the guy that has like the 2 strings on his fucking racket. So I'm sure they have some guy that just fucking serves with like a marker and, you know, a rock, and he has like 500 kilometer serves or something like that, right? Nonetheless, that's Kirihara's special. I think it works if he loses a lot of points in a row, or if he's maybe, it's probably just points. I don't think it's if he's a lot of games down. But if he loses a lot of points in a row, he automatically boosts up his C gauge and also his super gauge, which is pretty cool. But nonetheless, I can appreciate it being realistic, but there are other characters that also have serve specials that are, for the most part, uncontestable, right? Unless, like, in general, this serve always more or less goes through. Because, like, it's really hard to compare it when you're playing against opponents on, like, medium difficulty, because they don't usually ever, I think, go after the ball when you do, like, a special, right? Especially for a serve, they just let it go through. Unless you're playing hard, then it's like a switch that gets flipped, where they, like, immediately straight and go for it. Like, they just don't fuck around in hard, right? But in medium, they're chumps, right? It's like this weird dichotomy. So unless it's the kind of thing where, like, if I play opponents in hard, other specials, they're easily blocked, but the Sud Scud, or not Sud, like, like soap, but Scud serve is really difficult to block even for them, then I would understand that, you know, that's why sometimes it'll miss, but I don't know. I've never really played against Ootori. Well, no, I played against Ootori a couple of times. I think I just played against Ootori as Ootori, to be honest. No, because I know I played Shishido, but I think I might have played someone else, but I know I was doing Kanto doubles at some point, and I think I played him, but in any case, I've definitely played against him. So there's a chance he might have done his serve against me, but again, I don't know if... I can't really recall if it was super difficult, right? So, I don't know. We'll have to see how the other tournaments are. If they're at least in the hard difficulty. Which they might not be, just because, like, we're doing a little bit of cleanup. If we were just doing, like, straight progression like we were doing before, that's why they steadily got a lot harder, and, like, why the last tournaments were a little bit more difficult than some of the other ones. From, like, the previous seasons, because we've gotten to the point where we're doing, like, really difficult tournaments. But I'm kind of, like, going back and, like, redoing some tournaments, right? Like, I think I did Decanto doubles. I don't remember now if I did that off screen or on screen now. I know I tried to do it off screen, but that the game crashed on me, and I was like, God fucking damn it. And I was thinking at that point, maybe I'll have to do it on screen, but I don't think I ever went back and actually played Decanto doubles, now that I think about it. But I'll have to double check on that. But in any case, like I'm saying, I'm going back, doing tournaments that I've done before, doing these, like, survival tournaments, things that aren't, like, immediately super difficult. This is the first survival singles tournament that is available, so obviously it's not going to be extremely difficult. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to play really difficult opponents this entire season. I think it was just as difficult as it was going to be in the previous tournament, which was, I think, the Maximum Overkill tournament. But I think that was on hard. And the opponent was actually returning specials there sometimes. But is that all his special does? It just moves him to where the ball is? That's definitely interesting, but also it's kind of pointless considering that Shishido is on his team and literally does the same exact thing. Except I guess he does it in less words than Shishido. Wow, he got services. Very, very nice, my guy. Let's see if we can clear this out pretty quickly. This is Kiyoshi. He is actually, ironically, the character that I'm trying to unlock by doing the survival singles. No. That might be a lie. Hold on. I think actually, no. I think he's the character I unlocked from doing Kanto doubles. There we go. So I have to go back and do Kanto doubles with, I've already done Kanto doubles, but I have to go back and do it with Shishido and Ootori as a team, and then that's when I get Hiyoshi. I think what I'm doing now gives me, not Kawaji. What the hell does it give? Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe I am lying. Maybe it's Bukai that I get from doubles? Oh man, I'll have to check. So I'm pretty sure I get Hiyoshi from this tournament, right? So that's why, you know, haha, we're playing against them, wow, that's crazy, whatever. But he's kind of an interesting character, because there's him, and then there's Taki, who are Hyote members that you don't really see too often, but Taki is really kind of pointless, because the only reason he's in the series is just to give Shishido like the nice, to make Shishido look good, because he, if I remember correctly, Taki was like a regular, he was like a starting member of the Hyote lineup, but then Shishido went and he did some training, he started training balls like crazy, practicing with Ootori and all that stuff, and that's what made him really good, doing his thing. And then he was able to beat Taki, and then immediately go ahead and take his spot on the team. And then so Taki was moved to, I guess, either second string or like a sub or something like that. But that's, I think, really all he does. He really has no other like importance in the series, I don't think. But again, I haven't seen like new Prince of Tennis or anything like that. I haven't read much of the manga. I've only read the manga for like the last couple of chapters, when they're like literally the last section where they take on when, spoiler alert, when Segaku wins the national tournament. That's the only time that I've read the manga, because like the anime stopped sometime before that. The OVA, I should say, stopped sometime before that. Whoops, I thought that was a serve for some reason. Wow, my awakening gauge goes down super quick. I need to never use this again unless I'm serving. That is super unfortunate. It's almost already gone. But Hiyoshi is also pretty interesting, because I don't know what his case is. I think he's also a sub. I just know that he played against Ryoma, right? He's a dweeb. And like Taki, he doesn't really do much else afterwards. But yeah, he's a dweeb. You can just tell by the way he's holding his racket. Like, he's some sort of like otaku or something like that. But I don't know. I don't remember what his thing is. Maybe he like does karate or like something. I don't know. He's just some sort of weird dweeb. Little weird movements and whatnot. But in the anime it was kind of weird, because like when Segaku played Hyote, right? Segaku being the main character's team, and then Hyote just being one of the teams they faced. And I'll try and relate this to like wrestling terms, because usually whenever an anime, when they try and like decide how to handle the results of like a fight or an outcome or something like that, I always think back to wrestling, because it's kind of the same thing, where it doesn't always matter who wins exactly. Sometimes it's more important like how they won or how they lost, kind of deal. So for Prince of Tennis, what they did is it was like the final round, final match of that tournament. I don't remember what the scores were exactly, but it was like depending on the captains to play each other. So Atabe played against Tezuka, and whoever won that match. But what they kind of like, I guess, wrote themselves into a tough spot, because they didn't want Atabe to lose, because they wanted Atabe to be like one of the like star players or whatever, right? From, I guess, the entire series, they wanted Atabe to like be one of those like main, rival characters or whatever the case may be. But they obviously couldn't let Tezuka lose, because they've been building up Tezuka as like this unstoppable monster that the only thing that can stop him is that his arm's all fucked up and shit, right? So what they had to end up doing was just making it so that they did some sort of weird draw. I don't remember really what happened. I don't know if they both like got injured, or they were just both too tired to continue. It was some sort of weird nonsense. I was just like, okay. But then afterwards I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because it just ended up being an excuse for them to have Tezuka and Atabe face off, and you're seeing both of these characters play, but they're not having a decisive result, so you can't automatically be like, oh, Tezuka's better, oh, Atabe sucks, oh, Atabe's better, whatever. But then also at the same time, Ryoma was on the bench that game, and I don't remember why exactly. I don't know if he might have been just being a dickhead and decided to bench him, or I don't really remember what the case was, but he was on the bench. But since at that point, I think like Inui was also injured, because that guy was kind of weird. Like, they already had, what is it? They have the 2 doubles, so that's 4 players plus the 3 singles. So that's 7. They already had 8 players because they already had an extra player, right? That they would just sub in and out. But they didn't have like strings because they didn't have enough players for that, right? But they had just their main lineup. But even their main lineup, they had an extra player, but they were just rotate in and out. But then after that, they got an even extra player, so they had to kind of like figure out what to do with this player. It's the same thing like they do in like a lot of the basketball anime. Like I've been watching, what is it, Ahira no Sora, and then they do the same thing in like Kuroko no Basket, where they have your starting team, but there's no such thing in like actual basketball or stuff like that, where it's just you only have these 5 members and only them play the entirety of the game, right? You constantly are doing substitutions. You got a healthy bench. It's usually like 10 players, right? I think. Plus some. I mean, there's more members on the team, but I think it's like 10 on the bench, or sorry, 5 on the bench, 5 in that you start out with, and then you just sub them in to give them a break and whatnot, right? But the problem with these sports anime is that they have to find a way to like make all these characters stand out and not just be kind of like background characters and whatnot. So they usually just focus on the main 5 characters because they kind of have to do that for the most part. Sometimes they just focus on the team having just the one good character and then everyone else is kind of like a background character. But when it comes to like the main protagonist's team, everyone has to be important. But at the same time, they're like, shit, that means you have to focus on like 10 different characters, right? So they usually just have some like random players that just kind of suck and they're never good. It's the same thing in both of these anime. In the other one, Ahiro no Sora, or it's Ahiru, should be Ahiru. Ahiro no Sora. It's kind of the same deal, but those players are a little bit different in that regard. But nonetheless, it's mainly the same formula. You got the main, your main starting 5 players, and then you got like a bench of like 3 players that suck and don't play. And that's kind of like their main thing, is that they just kind of suck and they're trying to get good. But you just kind of have them at the background. But anyways, big tangent there. All I'm trying to say is that they did all this, had Atabe and Tezuka face off against each other, just to end their job, just so Ryoma can come in and save the day, because they were like, shit, we're gonna have to play a game to decide who the winner is. So they threw out both of their subs. And of course, Ryoma, being the main character, is one of the subs in that particular point in time. So he got to play. He played against Hiyoshi, who's not even on screen anymore, because I've talked so much shit this entire time that he's been beaten and he's gone. And we're actually playing against Shinji. But yeah. Shinji is also weird too, because I've talked about it before. I've even used Shinji if I remember correctly. It was kind of, it was pretty interesting. He has okay stats, and he's kind of a silly character. But he has like this, I don't know. Maybe it was like with Shinji that it started. Because I was mentioning, I was thinking to myself before, like, when it comes to Prince of Tennis, like, they start out being kind of plausible at first. It's like, okay, twist serve, that's a tennis thing, sure. Doesn't exactly hit you in the face all the time, but yeah, okay, that's plausible. The split step, okay, yeah, that's a thing. Doing it with one step, okay, I guess that doing it with one foot, I mean, yeah, I guess that's mildly plausible, But then, like, I was trying to figure out when it was that they got to the point where it's just like, alright, come the fuck on. Are you guys even, like, trying to be realistic now? And I thought it was against, when they introduced, Kaido. He started doing his snake bullshit. Because, like, obviously the balls don't move like that. There is a buggy whip shot in real life. You can do some slight side spin and all that kind of stuff, but no way near as much as you can in the anime, especially not in this game where it just does this crazy, like, fucking spinning motion. But it might have been with Shinji that it got really... That might have been the last thing that was, like, semi-plausible. Because he has this whole thing where he tries to use the spot against you, which is, in hindsight, it's kind of lame. Because it's definitely not something that he's definitely like a side character, is what I'm trying to say. Because that's definitely not an ability that will, like, end up going anywhere in a series like Prince of Tennis. He's like an early phase Yu-Gi-Oh card where you're like, oh, okay. When it first comes out, like, wow, it's an effect monster, and then later on, like, every monster has an effect kind of thing. But his thing was with the spot where he would alternate between doing top spin and back spins. So like literally back and forth, top spin, then a back spin, top spin, then a back spin. And then apparently on like the fourth one of those back and forths, it would make it so that like your elbow would fuck up and you just wouldn't be able to hit it and actually serve. I'm sorry, actually return the ball. So that's how he would just get a bunch of free points that way. But that's stupid. I mean, it's almost like it's like almost kind of plausible, but actually no, it's kind of stupid. But nonetheless, we're gonna go ahead and win the King of Strokers tournament here. I won't make you guys sit through this again, so we'll catch you up at the end. Hey, I was right, sort of, even though I kept changing my answer, but hey, we got Yoshi! Oh, man. Take care of yourself.